everybody, welcome to Tea Time with Tempest and Gvizzle. And we were talking earlier today about the Chris Rock and Will Smith debacle at the Oscars, and we found we had quite different perspectives on it, but they were quite complementary. So yeah, let's get into it and dissect what happened a bit. Yeah, because what I found quite interesting was that you're the first person in all of TikTok and any news I'd seen or any comments on YouTube videos or anything that actually mentioned Jada Smith.
Yeah, I mean, it was about her.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a Will versus Chris debate.
Yeah, and it just kind of seemed to, that just took the focus of it all. People are going around saying, well, I mean, because obviously you hire a comedian to do a certain job and comedians should be able to say what they want to say. But part of being a skilled and good comedian is managing that you can't just go for the nuclear option and say whatever you want. You need to manage the crowd and know your audience. That's what makes you a good comedian.
But I mean, that's the first time you've raised that issue, that point. But it's curious because Ricky Gervais got away with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And like, I know this is going back 100 years, but Don Rickles, like he was known, and I guess maybe because Don and Ricky are known for that type of humor, so you know what to expect. But Chris Rock isn't usually known for making those types of jokes, so it was like at a left field.
Yeah, and it was just that where this is obviously quite a fresh issue for Jada Smith as well, that it just kind of like she clearly didn't like it, and yeah, and then obviously Will Smith saw that reaction and then reacted to her reaction and decided to go.
And I like all of my focus was on Jada because I was thinking like, what would I do in that situation, right? And like first, I mean, like I had so many feels about it. Because first it was like, well, that was kind of shitty of Chris Rock because it was not a funny joke, not because of her alopecia. I didn't know that she had that issue before the video, but like you're making fun of someone's appearance, which is already not funny, right? Like body shaming is not funny. And then like if we take that element out of it, you're making a joke about a movie, and then he tries to like retract it about like that's the G.I. Jane joke, which even makes it more not funny because that was a 25-year-old mediocre movie.
Exactly.
That like who's your audience? Half the people in that room have probably never even watched that movie. So that in itself isn't funny. But then, can I just keep talking, or you want to?
Yeah, no, go for it. Go for it. I'm listening.
Because I had all these. Okay, so then if it were me, if I were Jada, and that joke happened, and then I saw my husband get up on stage, I would immediately be pissed off at my husband because, like, you're 46 years old. I got to teach you now that you don't just throw hands when someone says something that you don't like. Like that's completely an inappropriate reaction. I would also be pissed off because Jada does not strike me as the type of person who's not able to advocate for herself, and neither am I, right? So I would be like, who are you to get pissed off on my behalf? I can be angry for myself, and I will address it if and when I choose, right? Like if that were me, I would have been pulling Chris Rock afterwards and be like, that wasn't cool, wasn't funny, didn't appreciate it, not making a spectacle in front of a bajillion people, which then is part 3, the Streisand effect, where it was a shitty joke. He got polite chuckles. Had Will done nothing, it would have been 8 seconds out of a 3-hour show that nobody would have remembered. So like there were so many things to unpack that I would be more upset at my husband than I would be at Chris Rock for making that joke.
Yeah.
And scene.
But that's why I wanted to do this, because it was such a good opinion on it. And like I've not heard anybody else say that. Everybody's kind of in one camp or the other, or it's got really tribal and they're taking sides.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of like, oh, he stood up for his woman in that such like Neanderthal type of language, right? Like she doesn't she is a strong, independent woman, and it may be something that she is sensitive about because it's new, but she is still able to use her voice and advocate for herself, and he shouldn't have taken her voice away from her by responding on her behalf. I think that shows a lack of respect for her, or like I get the like my woman. At the same time, respect that she will address it if and when she wants to, and in the way that she chooses to.
And they seem to have had like quite a few troubles. I mean, just from whatever's in the media, they've had marital troubles for a few years now.
Yeah,
you know.
And apparently, from the little headlines I've seen, Chris Rock made fun of Jada once before in 2016. So it could be that there is, if the two of them have a beef with one another and they're using their spouses to get at one another, then that's just another level of shitty. And like everybody was wrong here except for Jada, who didn't even have an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
to do anything or say anything or express anything.
Yeah,
I mean, like you said, the face she made was very telling.
Yeah, that did, like, I thought that did way more damage to Chris Rock's reputation than anything else than Will Smith could have done.
Well, yeah, because that just distracted from that. It distracted from how she was feeling. It distracted that he was, body shaming essentially someone who is sensitive about an illness, and it made it about can you just punch somebody in public? Because now all the conversation is, what if Ricky Gervais had said it? What if it was a female comedian who said? A lot of what ifs instead of what actually happened.
Exactly, and none of that has anything to do with the issue at all, does it? And it's just that the joke itself as well. People keep going. One of the defenses is, it's a mild joke. It didn't say anything. It's like, well, you're not a woman with alopecia, so it would be a mild joke to you, and it's a new thing. It's not up to you to dictate if it's hurtful for someone else. That's a subjective thing. And it was a hack joke. It wasn't that funny. Like you said earlier, it was about a 25-year-old movie that most people
nobody watched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And then he was like, when he tried to take it back, being like, "Oh, it was a G.I. Jane joke." Well, that makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you make a joke about Howard the Duck? See if that's funny.
It's a kind of situation where everyone's wrong. Like, apart from Jada, as you said, that Will Smith committed a crime. He assaulted somebody. Chris Rock committed the crime of crap comedy. And just being insensitive. And
then there's all the conversation now about, well, they should take his Oscar away, and then the whataboutisms of, well, what about Roman Polanski, and what about Woody Allen, and what about what about everything? Then, like, how do we move forward as a society? Like, this is the situation now. Forget about all the distractions and trying to make it about anything else, about what it was. One man assaulted another man publicly on an international stage, and there were zero consequences. Presumably, I mean, he's apparently since apologized on Instagram, but is it a sincere apology? Has Chris Rock reciprocated with his own apology? Like,
the thing is like, these people attend these award ceremonies and win these awards, they have nothing in common with us, no matter what their background is or no matter what they claim. The fact that someone could go onto stage and physically assault somebody like that and have no legal consequences or ramifications, the amount of privilege that takes. And like I saw a therapist on TikTok earlier saying it, that the amount of narcissism involved in that I could just walk up, hit somebody in the face, and sit back down as if nothing happened. And just having that surety.
I think a lot of these stars, they may have come from a place that was like ours, but they've been so far removed from it that they forget what it's actually like to be in that place, right? And they hold on to that piece of like, no, I came from a shitty neighborhood. Yeah, but you haven't lived in that shitty neighborhood for more than half your life. Yeah, the people you employ, maybe they live in shitty neighborhoods, but you don't. You don't remember what it's like to be that.
As we're supposed to be an advanced civilization now, this continuing to advance and evolve, that we do have all of these hang-ups and evolutionary drives from our development over the last several million years, but we should be conscious enough to be able to reflect on them and rise above those. We should be at that point now that we'll stop doing these things, these urges that we have.
And that it was completely unchecked, right? It wasn't like they were standing 2 feet away from each other. He said it, and his initial reaction, like he thought about it, and he's like, "Yep, this is appropriate." Got up, walked upstairs, across the stage, all these eyes on him, and at one point was he like, "Oh, this is a bad idea." Just went, and then doubled down with yelling at him from his seat.
Yeah, like he had every single step he's making towards Chris Rock, he's making a conscious decision to do what he's going to do.
And you'd think, like, where was security? Because like at what point does security have to see like, oh, you made fun of his wife, you are now walking towards him? It's probably not for a high five, right? Like
Yeah,
why
yeah,
are they
exactly.